This is about the empty chair on your life team. Yep, this one has some sadness attached to it. So hi, I'm Pastor Brenda. I'm honored again to meet you in this space. I hope you've downloaded the PDF that you can find in the notes below, or you've been joining us in this series all along. This is about that empty chair, and this is the description of that. This is a friend who used to be a friend, but there has been an ending. We keep a chair for these people on your life team because these friends have shaped you. This is a place of honor, even though there is no hope of reconciliation. This is the person who you think of and you still smile. This is the person who has died and you miss. This is someone who has betrayed you and yet you miss them. This is someone who has changed and you can't be friends anymore, but you miss what you used to have together. As Christians, we aren't exempt from betrayal. Sorry for that truth. But thankfully, we have some Bible words that can really help us with this. And I just want to read Psalm 55 to you. These words from the Bible, I think, will help you identify the pain that sometimes words are hard to come by. Verse 1, listen to my prayer, O God. Do not ignore my cry for help. Please listen and answer me, for I am overwhelmed by my troubles. My enemies shout at me, making loud and wicked threats. They bring trouble on me and angrily hunt me down. My heart pounds in my chest. The terror of death assaults me. Fear and trembling overwhelm me, and I can't stop shaking. The psalm begins with a cry for help. And verses 4 and 5 sound like a panic attack because life is just too much right now, too hard to handle. It sounds like anxiety is leading the brain at this time. Verses 12 through 14 gives us the source for this anxiety that is breaking this author down. But let's continue on with verse 6. Oh, that I had wings like a dove, that I would fly away and rest. I would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. How quickly I would escape, far from the wild storms of hatred. Confuse them, Lord, and frustrate their plans, for I see violence and conflict in the city. Its walls are patrolled day and night and against invaders. But the real danger is wickedness within the city. Everything is falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. It is not an enemy who taunts me. I could bear that. It is not my foes who so arrogantly insult me. I could have hidden from them. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion, and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together into the house of God. This is a psalm of betrayal, a wild storm of hatred. Those are some words you might need, right? To be able to fly away and rest, to be able to sleep at night instead of having to rehash the story over and over, and to hear those words again, and to what if the situation, and wonder if I did that. If I could fly away to the quiet of the wilderness. Your soul is so tired and is crying out for that. Betrayal hurts in its own deep ways because trust was involved. You once trusted this person, and then an unfair thing happens. And betrayal causes you to pray like verse 15. Let death stalk my enemies. Let the grave swallow them alive, for evil makes its home within them. You can feel the pain. You can feel the bitterness sinking in, right? You feel like a fool. Why did I trust? Why did I expose my life? And you can feel the walls being built so that no one can ever hurt you again. And then contempt grows for everyone. Verse 16 through 19. I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me, though many still oppose me. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. Betrayal feels painful morning, noon, and night. Thankfully, God hears all of this. Even when it feels like God didn't protect you from this unfair thing that happened, God hears all of this. And the end of the psalm, verse 19 through 23, for my enemies refuse to change their ways, they do not fear God. As for my companion, he betrayed his friends, he broke his promises. His words are smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. But you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young. I am trusting you to save me. More words for you. His words are smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. Don't you know this? You know this because you keep ruminating on what he's getting away with and what she is scheming. You know this because the only good option in your life is if this relationship had never happened at all. You aren't sleeping. You feel a constant of anxiety. Have you been so angry about an unfair thing that you've actually scared yourself? So can you trust God to save you? The psalm ends with verse 23. I'd like to read it again. But you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Murderers and liars will die young. But I'm trusting you to save me. The end. Amen. This is the God of justice. God is still a good God, a God of justice who will fix the unfair. Because friendship, betrayal happens. It's so real, it made the Psalms. There's some steps to betrayal I'm going to go through here. I think you're going to feel. First step is when you know something is off, but you don't know what is off. Discernment is going off, but the discernment isn't giving you any details. Like your heart wants to believe the best. You want to make generous assumptions. We're big fans of generous assumptions here in this church. But your head also has alarms going off. Something's just not right in this relationship. And you just can't figure it out. Step 2 comes the shock. This is when you find out what's going on. And it could come 2 ways to you. It could come in discovery or it can come in disclosure. The discovery is painful. This is when you find out what the betrayal was. Your mind couldn't even go that far to what is going wrong, and you discover it, and you are in complete shock. Your brain is shut down, and that kind of thing. When you find out by discovery, there's a little bit of it hurts. Oh my gosh, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. But it also came because someone told you. There was some respect there. There was some kind of trust displayed there. Well, there was a betrayal that happened. This person told you what was going on. This is how you discovered it. And there's still a cost to this, and it still deeply, deeply hurts, but it's different than when you had to discover it versus when it was disclosed to you. Now, the next step of betrayal is the reaction of the person who betrayed you. And you can't control this. This just happens. If the reaction is humble, there's likely a chance the relationship can be repaired. Now, there's repentance right away. Their honesty helps you maybe think you can trust them again. But if the reaction is defensiveness, anger, blaming, calling you crazy, or in denial, it is further deepening the betrayal. Okay, you know what I mean? The fourth step is the reaction of other people. This can determine most if you're going to quickly heal or not. If they want to be of help to you, you got that trust the pain friend we talked about, you have a chance to heal. But if their reaction is defensiveness or their own fear that this could happen to them, this hurts you more. Like what happened to you, this betrayal that happened to you, triggers something inside of them, and their reaction to you is, what did you do wrong? Instead of just carrying your pain. If this is their reaction, now you got a betrayal from the people in your life. It just builds. And the fifth layer is, why didn't I see this coming? You betray yourself. How could I be so dumb? I had the alarms going off, and you start berating yourself. You start making yourself really small and beating yourself up. And then the sixth layer of this one, you feel betrayed by God. God, why didn't you stop this? Why didn't you warn me? God, how could you let this happen? And so on. The sixth spot, see how long it took us to become angry at God in betrayal? But this is where it ends, right? We're like, oh, God, you left me alone to be hurt by this friend. God, where were you? Okay. Let's start building up again, because now, boy, you feel this, right? So here's some answers in nugget form. There's a difference between a mistake and a pattern. We should always give grace for mistakes. The problem is when that mistake gets repeated and then it becomes a pattern. Then you might be discerning that this person is a taker and is also not trustworthy. See the giver and taker teaching. Time will reveal patterns. This person's track record matters. If I'm sensing this is going to become a pattern in my life, trust is broken, it is turning into something bigger. Because I have to know that I can count on you, that I can count on you as being true. So, you're in that discernment part of a friendship here, then you're sensing the betrayal happening. Is this a pattern or just a mistake? Use some of those things to help you discern before it gets too bad. Because in the midst of our pain, we take it to one extreme or the other. So you're sensing something's off with this relationship, a betrayal has happened or is happening. We go to two extremes. The first one is we are so desperate to keep the relationship that we minimize our own need for safety and we ignore the red flags. We know what is going on and we say to ourselves, I'd rather dance with the devil that I know than to be here alone. I want this relationship so bad I'm going to minimize my need for safety. The other side of this is I'm going to prioritize my safety so much I will not take any risks. So I diminish the connection in the relationship down to the bare minimum, because the more connection, the more risk, and I just want more safety. Which one of those are you? The goal, of course, is to bring safe connections into equilibrium. So first conversation question, hope you gathered with your small group, your family, your roommates. What makes trust feel risky to you? Have that conversation. There are reasons why we have trust issues. Getting into a relationship isn't going to fix those issues. At the same time, people are a part of our spiritual formation. We can't do life without people, so we must try to be in a relationship with people. We must intentionally build a life team. You must intentionally build your life team. Relationship without trust is a relationship without vulnerability, void of the kind of love we are meant to give or receive. Trust is a part of your life team. This is a Dr. Henry Cloud quote. Forgiveness has to do with the past. Trust has to do with the future. Forgiveness pays a debt. Trust is earned. And this is where forgiveness and trust cross each other. If you lead your life with unforgiveness, you'll have a problem with trusting anyone. This will keep you locked up in a small world. And just in a few weeks, we're going to talk all about forgiveness and how this is a part of your life team. Also, having a practice of forgiveness and how it is different from trust, different from reconciliation. Forgiveness is about the past. And this betrayal that happened, it's in your past. But now, how do you go forward? Broken trust complicates every bit of the part of love that should be comforting to us. And I can't give you a guarantee that you won't have your trust broken. Relationships require risk. Your life team relationships will require risk. Like 200 hours of risk-taking vulnerability just to get to know the relationship. Time is involved. And I gotta say, people will let you down. Even I, as your imperfect Christian friend, could let you down. So next conversation question. What are some things you have learned to help you with betrayal? I'll return. I hope you had a good conversation here because this is really helpful. I have a resource for you here on June 2nd, 2024. We did a whole teaching on healing from betrayal. Lots of good tips in there. Please watch that video. So in this church, we love talking about our trust issues because they're real. They exist. So let's talk about them in the light of each other and bring some hope and some healing with the light of God's word on it. And we're growing. We're imperfectly progressing along here. So much so we've written a Bible study. This is from my church, Trust Issues with God, written by me, but this is my people's, what they've learned, they've taught me in this Bible study, in this workbook. It comes with video. But we're going to do a short lesson from week 1, day 3, to help take this a step further. Galatians 5:13, which is the verse we quote here a lot in this church. For you've been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. Galatians 5:26, let us not become conceited or provoke one another or to be jealous of one another. 1 Peter 4:10, God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. These letters all come from the New Testament. They're letters. And there's around 60 one another or each other references in these New Testament letters, encouraging us all to do life together well. But when you do a full study, which you will do in this workbook when you purchase it, is not once are we told to trust one another. But we're told to love one another over a dozen times. Big thought, big question. Is trust something only God qualifies for? As you admit you have trust issues with God. I want to close here with one last question, another hopeful question. So Lisa Turkhorst from her podcast, Theology and Therapy and Theology, that way. And some of the stuff I gained from Lisa Turkhurst. If you know her story, you'll understand. I just took some of her stuff and shared it here, giving her credit. But this is her words exactly. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It's what we plant in the soil of time that determines whether we are headed towards healing or bitterness. What time does allow you is you to see how things play out. Truly, I've seen what we plant will grow something. So what we sow, we do eventually reap. I choose to sow wise choices. I choose to sow forgiveness. I choose to sow responsibility. I choose to sow for love for my family. I'm reaping the beautiful fruit of all of that. Closing question. What can you plant to help you live in trust? Have that conversation. Whew. We went from the pain of betrayal, and I hope you have experienced it. I've experienced it. I hope we felt it tonight. But we're ending on here with some nuggets of hope to how to grow, how to heal, how to trust again. Because these life team members, the empty chair, as well as who you need to intentionally put on your life team, you're at risk to all of them. But oh, is it worth it? People are a part of our spiritual formation. This life team is going to give you life. So, take these nuggets and put your team together. All right? I'll see you again.